All right, now we're going to multiply some decimals. I'm going to notice for number 1 here, I actually have a negative times a positive, which as we know without doing any math, a negative times a positive is going to give us a negative result. So I'm going to go ahead and write these vertically and multiply them out. I'm not going to worry about the sign for right now. I'll plug that in because afterwards because it's already negative. So I get 2.6 times 0.4. And I'm going to multiply out the same way I always do. I'm going to go 6 times 4, which gives me 24. Carry the 2. Now I'm going to go 4 times 2, which is 8, plus 2, which is 10. Now I'm going to notice originally I have 2 numbers after the decimal. I have the 6 and I have the 4. Because I have 2 numbers after the decimal, that means I'm going to move the decimal point 2 places to get my answer. Now, overall my answer is going to be negative, so the answer is negative 1.04. Don't forget that negative. It's easy to forget sometimes. Let's move on to number 2. I have 0.104 times 7. I'm going to write it like this, vertically. So now I'm going to go 7 times 4, which is 28. Carry the 2. Now, 7 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2. And 7 times 1 is 7. Now, I'm going to count the number of numbers that I have after the decimal. And in this case, I have 3. I have the 1, I have the 0, and I have the 4. So I'm going to bring that decimal point 1, 2, 3 spaces over. There it goes. And I like putting a 0 at the front of it just so I know where the decimal point is. So my answer, and here I have 2 positives multiplied together, is a positive 0.728. Next up, number 3, I'm going to notice that I have 2 negative values. And a negative times a negative gives us a positive. So I'm just going to ignore the sign altogether and now write it vertically so I can multiply it out. Times 0.04. I'm going to go 4 times 3, which is actually 12. I'm going to put the 2 down and carry the 1. 4 times 6 is 24. 24 plus 1 is 25. Carry the 2. 4 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2. Now this one's going to get a little tricky. This one is going to be, I'm going to notice that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers after the decimal. That means I have to move the decimal point 5 places. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, the missing pieces here, I'm going to have to fill in with zeros. So I'm going to put in a couple of zeros there as placeholders, giving me that my final answer is 0.00252. All right. Number 4, we have a perfect square. So I'm going to rewrite this as negative 0.3 times negative 0.3. And again, I have a negative times a negative. So overall, my answer is going to be a positive. So I'm going to write this vertically, 0.3 times 0.3. And now I'm going to go 3 times 3, which gives me 9. And 3 times 0, of course, is 0. So I notice I have 2 numbers after the decimal. I have 2 3s, which means I have to move the decimal point 2 places. And I'm going to have those extra 0, or just 1 extra 0 in this case, as a placeholder, giving me the answer of 0.09. All right, just a couple more. Number 5, I'm going to notice that in this case, I'm multiplying times 10. So I'm going to go ahead and write this vertically. This number might look a little familiar to you. And I'll multiply it times 10. So So I'm going to go ahead and multiply my string of zeros. So 0 times 9 is 0, 0 times 5 is 0, 0 times 1 is 0, times 4 is 0, times 1 is 0, times 3 is 0. And then I'm going to put my placeholder down below. And now I'm going to multiply 1 times everything. That's going to give me 9, 5, 1, 4, 1, 3. And I'm going to add everything up. Working with zeros. It can get a little confusing, so just be really careful. Now, I'm going to notice that I have 5 numbers after the decimal, which means I need to move that decimal point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places, giving me the answer of 31.4159. Now, I want you to note the original problem is 3.14159. So notice that the final answer is exactly that, but the decimal point got bumped over 1. Let's do the same thing with number 6. If I multiply the original times 10, when I multiply times 10, it moves it 1 place. When I multiply it times 100, which is 10 times 10, then it's going to move it 2 places. So this answer, without doing any work, is going to give me 314.159. If I multiply it times 1,000, it would move the decimal point 3 places. 10,000 would move it 4 places. So when you multiply by multiples of 10, it moves that decimal point. It's very nice.